Hi guys, it's Mark Zick, your Mr. Sci-Fi, also Mark Zick of Space Command, and we are doing our simulcast with our roundtable as we do every Thursday at 5:30. So it's connecting up, and soon we will see what we will see. It's going to be another exciting night. Feel free to ask me questions. Adam Sartain is going to be moderating this, so we're just waiting for everything to get up and running, and then we will get up and running ourselves. So life is going to be extremely good. So I hope you're all well and having a good life. And here's this, and I go do this. And my roundtable, of course, is writers, directors, actors, producers. It's something we've been running for 27 years, and now here we are having our good life. So there we go. Host will let me into the meeting momentarily. Okay, cool. And yeah, so good to see that people are here, and we are happy to answer questions and be of great use to everyone, because that's how it works. We all need to help each other at this stage in our lives. But as for us, we're making Space Command and writing books and doing all sorts of cool stuff. So I'm glad that we're all able to be here together tonight. So, okay, there we go. Now the table is opening up. So join with computer audio. Right. There we go. Can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you.
Yeah, good. Yes. Hi, guys. Welcome.
I've got you
on Mr. Sci-Fi.
Yep.
Here we are. So great. So hello, Adam. Hello, everybody. It's good to see you, Rick and Dave.
I think I finally figured out what you meant by that Odin shot.
Good.
Lingering. It's supposed to be there. We'll talk later.
Oh, okay. Okay, fine. So you're and also I'm having trouble downloading the 3 shots that Christian. Yeah.
Christian.
So if you can send those to me, that'd be great. We're working with our visual effects team.
I only saw 2, but I'll send them right now.
They're 3, but 3.
I only saw 2. Okay.
It doesn't matter. It's okay.
David
fine.
Bartlett's calling.
Okay, well, that's always a joy. So
hello.
So okay, well, gee, it's good to see everybody. It's going to get more crowded as the evening goes on.
No, I'm gonna turn off the waiting room. That might help.
Yeah.
Are you listed as user?
They're trying to get some of the bugs out on the tables part of it. So
what's your screen name?
Hello, Dave. So okay, so I guess Adam will be done with that call in a moment, and yeah, so we'll see how it all goes tonight. So, and for those who are eager to watch the debate, it's probably not worth watching.
Let me turn myself.
Okay, yeah, that'd be good.
Meeting here.
So, so yeah, because we're off and running. So, okay, welcome everybody. So, Rick Reynolds, why don't you? Hi, Bonnie. Rick, why don't you start, and then we'll go from there. Okay, if you want to check in and see how you're doing and what you need.
And I was actually here for the benefit of a friend who I invited. I was hoping to see here tonight.
Oh, good. Okay, well, maybe later.
I don't know. I don't believe I've met Bonnie, but everybody else.
Yeah, great.
Hi. I'm interested to hear from Bonnie.
Great.
I run over. Hi, everybody. It's good to see you all again.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm just an audio guy waiting for my friend to show up.
Cool. Cool.
Well, do you personally need anything, audio guy?
No, actually, it's been things have been very good.
Oh, good.
I could go off on stories and tangents and what 2020 has meant to me and such, but this isn't the venue for any of that. So I will simply bow out, say hello.
Okay. Great. Well, 3 cheers, Rick. Good to see you. Yay. So Adam, do we have a Mr. Sci-Fi question?
We do. Not only that, we have a super chat.
Yay.
From Guylinda.
Yes, great.
Who says, I loved your panels at Virtual TrekCon.
Thanks.
We had so much fun.
Well, yeah, it was great. And it's really fun to answer questions and cover all that ground. And I really enjoyed it. So great. Well, thank you so much. And is there a question?
There is. There's a question from Gregory Krug, who asks, if you could ask Rod Serling one question, what would it be?
How do we get you back? Yeah, I think, it's because we need his voice and his kindness and compassion for the human race now more than ever. I would be so interested in hearing his opinions about the current political scene and all sorts of stuff. I think the reason Twilight Zone is so current, no matter what year it is because these, he really understood the plight of humanity. And Monsters are Due on Maple Street. You can watch that now, and it could have been written last week. No, Rod was an amazing, amazing man, and I'm just glad that we got the gift of his art for all these decades. So great. So now let's see. Hello, everybody. So I guess Dave, you wanna chime in since you're on my screen?
Yeah, sure enough.
Okay.
I'll send you those files in a minute. I only see 2 of them. Anyway, it's what's left of Dave Edison, and just seeing if my nerves can stand the next 12 days, and whatever might happen beyond that. But yes. I'm keeping busy working on this new show that some of you might have heard of. I forget the name.
Yay!
And we had a VFX meeting today with one of our new VFX artists
in Chile. In Chile,
halfway across the world.
Yeah,
in Chile.
Yeah, that's in Europe, I guess.
and David Bartlett's assistant, who is also not in this country.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an international project.
Yes,
we're slowly chipping away, diligently, relentlessly.
Yeah.
To get it done and in time for the coming apocalypse.
Yeah,
so,
it's exciting. I mean, I'm always thrilled, Dave, when we finish another sequence, because to see it materialize and then to see the flow of one scene into another, it's very exciting, So thank you for all the hard work and all the steadfastness. It's really appreciated.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the gig. I remember in 2008, 2009,
yes.
I started work on a low-budget animated feature.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, you talk about that blank page.
Wow.
I mean, it was just nothing there except we had a soundtrack, the voices. So we just slowly started putting animatics in to as placeholders. And then a month or so later, the animation started arriving, and I started editing it and slowly dropping it in. And yeah, it's possible. I mean, you build the pyramids by dusting off the desert at a point. Let's build here.
Yes.
You start, and eventually it's done. And this will be very much the same.
Well, good. Well, 3 cheers. Anything you need,
so
Dave?
I hope everybody stays well.
Yeah.
I hope everybody votes. I hope some of you get the results you want, and that we're all here this time next year. And maybe even next week.
Yes.
All right.
Excellent.
Thanks, everybody.
Yay. 3 cheers. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. We have a question from Wilhelm Sowers.
Hi, Wilhelm.
Who asks, in today's era, do you think Babylon 5 can still be done?
That's a very interesting question because everything is of its time in a certain way. I think anything can be reinvented and repurposed if done brilliantly. So Babylon 5, I think, has been very underutilized as an intellectual property, as a franchise. The reason was because whereas Paramount owned Star Trek, CBS Paramount owned Star Trek and could do whatever they wanted and realize the profits, Babylon 5 was distributed by Warner's but not owned by Warner's. It was owned by Netter Digital. And so as a result, Warner's has not been fully, eager to do anything with Babylon 5. It's a shame because it's certainly, a show that's very, very worthwhile, and I'm really glad to have been part of it. But yeah, I think that it should have been rebooted by now. God knows. So yeah. So Bonnie, I guess you're up.
Okay. Bonnie Janowski here, and composer, songwriter, and anything musical. Right.
Great.
Done a lot of film, TV, done a lot of big band jazz, big orchestra, a small group, and musical theater also. So
lots of cool things to listen to on your website too. By the way, I got a chance to listen.
Thanks. Yeah. And
what was it? It's Jan of Scott. How was that?
That's interesting. Joel always, my boyfriend always says, well, just think of Jan of Sky. That's true. But Janowski,
And so what's the website? Is it Jan of Sky or
Bonnie Janowski or Bonnie Ruth Janowski.
.com?
I can put it in the chat as well. So anything musical, and now things are picking up. So I'm getting a number of different projects that I'm working on, and
Great.
still 2 films are supposed to go that got delayed, and I'm hoping that one I think is more likely to take off sooner than later. The other,
Great.
they got sidetracked in their fundraising. They ran out of funding during post-production. So those 2 and a couple other things, getting busy.
Wow.
So that is
Congratulations.
Okay. Okay, well, 3 cheers. Yay. Excellent. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes. I'm going to address a comment from our lovely Rose Kirby from
Rose.
England. And to any of our Kickstarter backers who are those who got a DVD coming to them. Obviously, we haven't finished the first or the second half of Redemption yet, but
we're getting there.
As we'll be talking about, I'm sure later or at some point, it's due to be finished around January, and that's probably after January will be the time when we start sending out DVDs.
Great.
But we do not have a firm date yet as to when the DVDs are going out. So just be patient with us, and we'll get there.
Yes.
As for questions, we have a question from Carrie Ann Wilcox Ryan.
Great.
A very long name, who asks, how is COVID-19 affecting filming at the moment?
It's affecting it very, very harshly, actually. It's the pandemic is still, unbridled, and so SAG has very rigorous guidelines. If you're going to shoot, cast and crew all have to be wearing masks, except when you roll camera. The cast, of course, can not be wearing masks. You have to have a COVID officer on set at all times. You have to undergo a COVID test within 72 hours of shooting. Many, many, many things. When we shot the other day, we had everything in place, of course, but it's definitely challenging for basically everyone shooting around the world now. My friend Roxanne Dawson is directing an episode of a new show, and she flew to Ireland, and she had to be quarantined for 2 weeks before she could start prep on that directorial gig. So so it's definitely something that everyone has to really, really be mindful of, and we are. So there you go. So I guess Judith, you're next. Go for it. Oh, if you can unmute. Are you unmuting? Can you unmute?
Can you hit the unmute?
What? Judith?
There we go. Here we are.
Great.
Just popped in to say hello. I'm not going to stay long.
Okay.
I have a lot to do. I'm in the middle of doing, a friend of mine asked me to write a synopsis of her book, so I'm in the middle of that.
Okay.
And I'm still dealing with my cat,
Yes.
who seems to be a little better today.
Good.
But that's not going to change the result, unfortunately. And I have to bathe her. Which you should see the scratches by next week. And that's it, really. I'm just getting back to my life again. I've had a couple rough jolts over the last 2 weeks, but moving on.
Okay.
So as I said, I'm not going to stay long.
Okay.
Well,
it's good.
I'm sorry.
It's good to see you.
It's good to see
Elaine,
you.
I interrupted you.
No, I was saying.
Good to see you.
Good for you for coming on board anyway and saying hello.
Well, Nina and I were talking about community, and I'm so grateful for you guys. Just to know that you're here, so I can lavain if I have to. And that's a good thing. It's very comforting to know that you're there. I've got a lot of hi, cutie pie. That's my. Is that Rudy?
It's Rudy.
This is Rudy. They just came from
It's Rudy. Yeah, we just got them groomed.
Hi.
They just got groomed.
Anyway, I got a lot of stuff, a lot of projects. I started
Okay.
writing again yesterday,
That's
Great.
which is
great.
great.
Okay. Okay.
And things are moving slowly, but
Mhm.
it's been a rough couple weeks.
Do
We
you need
understand.
anything from the? Do you need anything?
No, thank you. I'm going to Costco tomorrow. I'm going to get the clapham off.
hmm
My vet wanted to sell it to me for $60. Costco sells it for 27. Can you
Uh-huh.
believe that?
Wow.
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 They're
They're
pretty
all in the
good.
wrong business. We should all be vets.
Mhm.
Actually, I got a flu shot at Costco today for it was only $20, but the problem is you got to buy 100.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That's good. That's very good, Dave. So
Yeah.
okay.
So Dave, I'll talk to you tomorrow, David.
Okay, I left you a message.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. 3
Okay.
cheers. Okay, Jude. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we've got our next question is from Scott Baker,
Hi, Scott.
who asks, which sci-fi stories come to mind as dealing effectively with the issue of addiction as a mental condition rather than a moral failure?
That's an interesting question.
How about a physical?
That's, I'd have to give that some thought. There are different kinds of addictions. I mean, the one that immediately sprung to mind in terms of obsession was Fahrenheit 451, where Montag gets obsessed with books. And that's very much like any kind of alcoholism, drug dependency, anything, because he just can't stop. And, from Ray Bradbury's perspective, of course, that was a positive thing, but it very much takes him over and destroys every other aspect of his life. So that's interesting. Beyond that, I'd have to think. I'm not nothing springs to mind beyond that for now. But
It
if
is
something
a
else comes to
question.
mind, yeah, absolutely, it's a good question. So why don't we go to you, Ronnie? You're next on our screen. Go for it. Sure. Yeah, unmute and tell us what's up with you.
Well, hello.
Ah.
First time I was invited by Rick,
Oh, good.
and fairly recent to LA and looking to network, get to know people. I'm an actress,
Mhm.
and I do a few other things behind the camera, but primarily I'm an actress. And
Mhm.
just looking forward to get to know everybody and meet people.
Cool. Well, just to let you know, the table's made up of thousands of members, and there's an email component where you can send one email out to all several thousand and get their requests as well. David Bartlett, who should be on your screen, he can help sign you up for that, and so you guys can connect up afterwards. And where did you move from?
Oh, Washington State.
Ah, okay, cool.
Yeah,
And
I was up there acting for many, 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 many years,
cool.
and then decided to take the next step.
Yes, well, just to let you know, it isn't always a pandemic down here, so it won't be like this forever, we hope. So, are there certain kinds of roles you gravitate toward, or certain kind of work you'd love to do?
Oh, I like a character with substance,
Good.
and that can be in almost any genre.
Yes.
But drama always, and it's often sci-fi, drama, fantasy.
Sure.
I've done a lot of like Renaissance, or I was in Highlander. I
Great.
did a couple of Highlanders, and then I did period pieces going all the way back in time. And
Cool.
Yeah.
That's fun. What I would suggest you do is start really educating yourself as to which shows you like that are coming back, and that, in other words, there's so many science fiction and fantasy shows now.
Yeah, there is.
You can really see what opportunities there are, and also start to see which ones shoot here. Most of them don't, but some do.
Mhm.
And and do you have a reel?
Yes, I have an IMDb and the reels on there, as
Okay.
well as, of course, always updating. But I don't have a website, so I use primarily IMDb, and then Vimeo and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. And you might want to send me a link to your reel. It's it's Mark Zicree, MarcZicree at Gmail. Because you never know.
You never know. And then I also got to write down David's to get in touch with him.
Yeah. And we're shooting a big science fiction project now, and also creating we're doing a project where we're creating 6 shows and going to be shooting 6 pilots, and we're doing it all in collaboration with friends of mine who are big science fiction show creators and showrunners, and pretty fun. So, but great. Anything you need right now? Anything else you need?
Right now, it's just a matter of meeting new people and getting into work down here and letting people know that I even exist down here.
Good.
So, networking.
Well, yeah.
That's pretty much what I need right now.
And the one thing that's interesting about this time is, although obviously you can't go to big functions to meet people in person, everyone's stuck at home, which means that a lot of people are more accessible than they normally would be. So, so again, if you have writers whose work you like, producers, directors, just look at how their social media goes. Most of them are on, Facebook or Twitter or something where you can reach out to them. And so it's a very good idea to do so. And some people I've advised to start podcasts, things like that, where, they can interview people who they want to work with, and so that also is a great trick.
You'll often see on the, once you get onto the email, you'll see people who have written something who want to do a reading, a Zoom reading. Mm-hmm. And so that's a good way to get to meet a lot of other actors.
Oh,
yes.
Absolutely willing.
Cool. Okay, great. Anything else?
No, I'm just looking forward to seeing where this group takes me and getting to meet people.
Yay, 3 cheers. Excellent. So again, for those who are new, I have my Mr. Sci-Fi YouTube channel and also the roundtable I run for, writers, directors, actors, producers. So we're doing a simulcast as we do every Thursday. So Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
There is. And for Ronnie,
yeah,
I put Dave's email in the chat.
Good.
Thank you.
And for anyone else that
wants to bother him. Yeah.
Or volunteer.
Needs to get on the email list.
Yeah, sure.
I am very vulnerable.
Yes. Good.
As we'll get to him later. So for the question, our next question is from Freaky Geek.
Hi, Freaky Geek.
Who asks, for the COVID tests, do you do the saliva tests or still the swab test?
We did a swab thing, but it wasn't as invasive. It's I guess a more sane iteration of that test. You self-administer. You basically go to like a CVS pharmacy and they communicate via this intercom thing and it's they give you the things and then you put it back in a secure spot and all that. So it wasn't. I was nervous about how invasive it would be because David Bartlett had said they put a swab into your brain, basically up your nose into your brain.
That was the way it was done.
Fortunately, that's not.
I had 2 of those. They were a lot of fun.
Yeah, fortunately, we didn't have that. We were able to self-administer, and it wasn't like a foot-long swab. It was a normal kind of thing. So we were fine.
We did have monitors.
Mm-hmm.
To check our temperature, when we came in, and then David and who else had taken, and Beta had 2 of our people
had the training.
But
beyond that, we had James Moorer as our
we had an outside
COVID guy.
COVID guy. So we were pretty well covered for checking cross.
It went great.
Yeah.
So was
I want to add one thing to that too. That
Please.
We did not do swab tests on the set.
No,
they were done by people prior to when they came to shoot.
Yes.
But they had to have been done at least
72 hours.
It was very weird because they had to be done 72 hours before we shot, but not earlier than 72 hours. But it could have been the day before, even though we wouldn't get the results back till Monday.
Yeah,
it was very strange.
It was pretty crazy.
2 of our people got right on it and were a day early and had to do it again.
Yeah, Jesus, that's terrible.
But we were not doing swab tests on the set. We didn't do that.
Cool. But it all worked out. So, and we're going to be shooting more very, very soon. So, Mark Gushowitz, you're up. Go for it.
Hi, how are you doing?
Great.
I was actually expecting nobody to be here tonight because of the presidential debate, but I was going to log on and there was going to be nobody here.
Yeah, well, I think we know what they're going to be saying.
Yeah, I thought so.
I'm TiVoing it.
Mark, I sort of thought the same thing, and I was halfway considering watching the debate, but then if I picked up something too heavy to throw at the screen, we'd have a problem.
Yeah, it's no. You could give yourself an injury.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I just figured it was going to be the same thing as last time, where everybody was talking on top of each other, and when it was over, you had no idea what anybody said. What's the point? Anyway, so we got some new faces here. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Mark. I am an editor. I've had a really, really odd, crazy week because my weeks have been weird. I've been having a good week and then a bad week and a good week. But this week was kind of bad, but also good at the same time because I've watched a major project of mine that I've been working on kind of kind of come to an end, but I really don't want to talk about that right now. We'll talk about that probably more next week. But it also, through talking to a friend of mine, has given birth to doing a kind of project I've been trying to put together for the last 6 years and actually expanding it into something completely different or something completely bigger. I've always wanted to do this website that was a completely positive website on movies. And now I'm seeing how I can actually develop that into a podcast as well. And I have a friend who has got a network of podcasts that he puts together. And so we started talking about that.
Cool.
So hopefully that'll move forward in January. Anyway, other than that, I've been working on my short film with this graphics guy who's been kind of a nightmare to me, but we're almost done with him. So, but I will say this, he's been a nightmare kind of to work with, but his work has been really good. So the finished product I'm getting is going to look great. But we're finishing up with him. And then we hired another graphics person to do a couple of shots, and he's working pretty fast and getting me some pretty good stuff as well. So hopefully by this time next week, I can say the picture's locked and I can send off this stuff to Earl for music and sound.
Great. That's great.
Other than that, some of the projects that I talked about last week that were coming into me, I'm still waiting for footage and stuff, so it's actually kind of going slow. But during this time of COVID, the smaller filmmakers don't want to pay a lot. So how we get around that is they do a lot of the work up front, like they sync up all the dailies and create all the bins and organize. And these people have been kind of slow on that, but that's okay. It's their project. So I'm waiting on that, and hopefully October was supposed to be a good month, but it's looking like it's going to be November. That'll hopefully be the good month for me. As long as things keep moving forward in a positive way, I'm good. Like I said, I had something fall apart, but it's leading to something positive. So as long as it keeps doing that, I'm good.
Cool.
It gets depressing at times, and you kind of get down on yourself at times. But I got to tell you, I just talked to an actress with disability. We're putting her up on an episode next week. And every time I listen to her, she's an actress with a disability, went through hell and made it. And when I listen to her talk and I think of the problems I have, it's kind of like, well, no, I don't have problems.
Yes.
And I can get past this if she can get through the rejection she got through for the ridiculous reason she was getting rejected. So,
and also, Mark, one thing to mention is something that you might enjoy looking at is Profiles in History. It's having an auction coming up in November, and they're auctioning off a number of costumes from Planet of the Apes, including Charlton Heston's, spacesuit. And so it's
What did you say it was called? Profiles in History?
Profiles in History. You can go on to profilesinhistory.com and you can download a PDF of the catalog. It's amazing. It's really amazing.
That actually reminds me of something. So I left Talking Apes. I had a podcast called Talking Apes, but my co-host and I are still best of friends, and he's continuing with the show. And he tells me that the new person he brought on, one of the new people he brought on to kind of work with him on it, knows Paul Williams, and they will probably be getting Paul Williams on the show. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm one episode away. I'm gone for one episode, and you get the guy who not only, played Virgil in Battle for the Planet of the Apes, but wrote Rainbow Connection onto your podcast. So, but hopefully that'll go well, because on the newer podcast that I'm thinking about putting together, if it goes well with him for there, maybe it can be a connection for me to get him on that as well.
Cool.
So I'm working really closely with some people, because this new kind of dream thing that I was trying to do with the website, it's got me totally excited. Every time I talk about it and the idea with the people that we're putting it together with, it makes me feel good, because it's my own idea. And I've been wanting to do it for so long, and it's time to stop waiting and actually move forward. So, but I'll probably get into that a little bit more over the next couple of weeks, because I'm waiting to kind of see the finalization of something before I start talking about it.
Cool.
But other than that, that's it.
Okay. Yay. 3 cheers. So do you have another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we do. And we also have another super chat.
Yay.
So shout out to Gregory Krug, who says, thank you for being here every Thursday.
That's a pleasure.
And now on to the question.
Yes.
Which is another question from Scott Baker.
Okay.
Who asks, if I want to be either an in-person or voiceover actor on Space Command, who do I talk to? What do I say?
Oh, David.
What if I want to be a writing assistant? I have ideas I'd pay to see on screen.
Well, David Bartlett would be the one you would talk to, and he's so he'd be the one. And I guess what's the best way for them to reach you? Is it via email, David? So that'd be davefilms@hotmail. Is that right? davefilms@hotmail.com. And so absolutely you can touch base with him, and he'll clue you in. So great. So now I guess it's Nina. I guess it's your turn. Go for it.
Okay.
So now
I'm
she's
here.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. How y'all doing?
good.
Good. I love your dogs, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay, so, my name is Nina Cruz, and I'm an actress and a singer, as well as a songwriter and a writer. But most of my work has been in performing. And I had to practice to say that because I haven't been doing that since I started coming to the table.
Mm-hmm.
So I overcame my shyness on that.
Good for you, yeah.
I was like, I can't say that. Other people can say it about them. I just can't. Okay, so
you've just joined the ranks of the good role models.
Yes, I thank you. Yes, and thank you all for kicking me in the ass just by being who wonderfully as you are. Hi, Ronnie. Welcome to the table. You're not alone in being new. I'm new in Chicago. Don't know a bloody soul. So you're one up because you got people right there. So right on. Did some exploring. Been doing some. My internet was out last week, so that's why you didn't see me. That was a lot of fun. And decided that I need to get new pictures done, blah blah blah, all that stuff that everybody has to do. But you know what? I forgot we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Yes.
So they don't know what I look like right now, anyways.
Yes.
So I was like stumbling over that. Oh, I gotta get these pictures. All I need to do is sweaters for the. And I was like, wait, stop the madness. Send your old freaking pictures out.
Yes.
And do your resume, because really most of what I'm sending out is just kind of meet and greet. Hey, this is me.
Yeah.
I'm here. Who are you? What can we do? What's going on? Just kind of a, to create community.
Yes.
And so, hey, can I have a yay? So I got that. That was a big aha moment for me this week. So that's what I'm busy doing. So I'm doing that. I found a bunch of theater companies that actually pay. Wow. Wow. I was like stunned at that. And they're all halted until next year anyway, as well. So I'm going to send out stuff saying, hey, I know I'm not part of your roster right now, but I'm here, and my computer just did something stupid. Hang on. But I'm here, and wanted to introduce myself and just say, this is who I am, and this is what I do, and how do I keep in touch? I want to stay in touch so that when auditions start coming up, I'm part of, I'm informed.
Great.
So I found about 15 or 20 people to send that out to.
That's great.
Right, and how can people see your work?
Right now, I've got to even dig out my reel from my old computer. It's not real. Okay, so I got to make a reel. So that's okay. I'm just, and in the meantime, I'm putting, and I have a lot of, you guys really make me much more creative than I would be if I was sitting there in my own. So I listened to some podcasts, which I had never listened to. And because I'm a big reader, and so podcasts always seem like, I'd rather read it, right? So I found a podcast done by Blumhouse. It's 13 days of Halloween.
Wow.
And it's brilliant, and it's simple, and it's not even radio shows with all the creaking and all the door slamming and all that. It's like a minimal amount of FX.
Yes.
But most of it's just voice work and really great voice acting and really brilliantly done.
That's great.
And very inspiring. Check it out. I found I was listening to iHeartRadio. Yeah, I did. Okay. And they announced it on there, and we turned it on last night, and Kim and I were listening, and it's brilliant. It's great. Everything's like 20 minutes, nothing long. You know, surprised that nobody's done anything with Edgar Allan Poe with it. And great actors in it. The actors are really pretty, not like all crazy famous, like some are just voice actors, which is great. Anyway, so that was very inspiring.
Great.
So yeah, I'm just busy networking in my office. So that's what I'm doing, and I appreciate you guys, and that's it.
Great. Yay. 3 cheers.
Thank you. Wow.
You bet. Great. So, Adam, do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
I believe we do.
Great.
Let's see. Yeah, we have another question from Scott Baker.
Cool.
Who asks, would you accept funding in exchange for a form of a priori product placement, such as showing a new form of technology used on a show or film that's actually nearing completion in real life?
Sure. Yes. Yes. It would, of course, depend on the amount of financing and how lethal the invention was. If it only killed a small number of people, out of total randomness, then okay, sure. But it was thousands, then of fatalities, then I might pause. But no, I mean, yes, we could absolutely have that conversation. It's interestingly enough, there's a company called Mova Globes that makes these really cool looking globes of planets that turn on their own. And I'm currently in communication with them to use them in Space Command at Space Command headquarters, because it'd be so cool to have like 9 planets all turning these little globes, beautifully detailed. Really fun. So we'll see how that all progresses. But yeah. So great. 3 cheers. So now I guess it's David Bartlett. Hey, David. Yay. Go for it.
Hi, everyone. I am David Bartlett. I am a filmmaker, a teacher, and a human rights activist, and a co-producer of Space Command.
Yay!
Also the producer of the visual effects and the colorist and all the crowdfunding fulfillment, and I'm doing the casting, and I'm doing quite a few other things.
Yes.
Those of you that are all interested in casting, here's the way you do it. What you do is you get somehow physically close to Mark, be his assistant, being his volunteer, sitting by him at the table, which we can't do now, of course.
Right.
Volunteering is a great way to do it. And if you just stick it out long enough, he'll notice you and put you in the show.
It's true.
That is the best way to do it.
Yes.
Judith Smiley got in Space Command that way.
Yes.
He was writing a scene during the table meeting once, and he needed to, because we had found that James Hong was available to do a scene, and he's from Blade Runner and other shows of Big Trouble in Little China, and we both love him. We said, let's get James Hong. So he agreed. So Mark wrote him a scene. The 3 people that were in the scene with James Hong were Howard, Stewart, and Judith. Because within arm's reach of Mark at the table at that meeting were Howard, Stewart, and Judith. So long story short, that's how that ended up happening.
Well, you ended up in Space Command as well. I mean, so it's and finally, I got Elaine to be in the show as well, and that was.
I got in it too. That's right.
That was like pulling teeth.
I started out as a featured extra in a green screen scene that I was producing, and they were like, "Well, let's get somebody to answer questions for Bill Mumy."
Yes.
In the audience. So there I was with one of my childhood heroes, Bill Mumy from Lost in Space, because we're about the same age, and there I am, kind of in a scene with him, which is fun. Yeah. So I said, well, Mark, you got this whole COVID episode happening. I think that Forey Hubbard is the name of my character, should be in that. And I said, you got to get the dogs in there too somehow. So he combined the two, and you have to see it to believe it. But I'm in a scene with their 2 dogs.
Yes.
And our dogs think he's the biggest lollipop they've ever seen.
Yes, and
love
indeed.
Me,
and just to explain what the COVID episode is. We've shot 3 hours of Space Command the traditional way prior to the pandemic. We're about to shoot another hour of it, working with COVID precautions. But when the pandemic first came down, I had the idea, because all the actors were stuck at home too, of Elaine and I wrote a 2-hour Space Command episode that the actors could shoot on their own cameras in their own homes, wherever they were. And so it was a crazy idea, but it was super fun. And so that's how we ended up shooting a new scene with David's character with the dogs in it. And it's really the high point of the episode. It's so funny. It's really great. And so, yeah, 3 cheers. So, but continue, please.
I warned them I usually steal the show. I'm told I'm funny. I usually end up with a comic relief role that's killed at the end of the second act, and if it's a comedy, I am not really dead, and I'm actually alive again. So I have. Let me see. I made my first film when I was 10 years old. I moved to Hollywood in 1980 and started working right away on some of the biggest films being done at the time. The right place at the right time with just full intention to get it done. I had no connections, no one that could help me. I wasn't Jewish, which at the time was very helpful. I mean, there were a number of things that could have helped me. I didn't have them. I didn't have any money either. So I managed to make that work, and I started working on low budget films like Roger Corman films with people like Jim Cameron at the time, where I was a set builder, and he was a production designer. And that was fun. And so I started working on a set, doing all the jobs on the set at least once, and now I've done everything except hairdressing. So don't let me cut your hair. That wouldn't go well, but the rest of it I'm good with. And I also shouldn't plug in the generator cables either. I probably would blow something up doing that, but short of that, I'm good. So I was started making my own films, and in the process of that, got into doing sound design. So I worked at the studios doing that, and I worked on Pulp Fiction and Speed and Total Recall and Tremors and a bunch of Predator 2, a bunch of big films like that, and a lot of other films that were a lot of fun to work on. So then I got back into doing my own independent films, where I was a producer, a director, a writer on a lot of them, and an editor and a DP. I've been an editor for a long time. And now I have 65 Film Festival awards. So if you have any questions about working in the studios or in independent films, I can probably help you out. I've also been a table member for 25 years now. God. And since Tom is not here right now, I am the oldest recurring table member at this point. Not the oldest, but the longest running. And I also, let's see, I'm determined to tell a story each time I talk now that's new and no one's heard before. So I have one for tonight. Mark Gushowitz will especially appreciate this one. But I'm about to do that. So before I do that, let's talk about the table email. If you want to be on the table email, or if you don't know what it is, let me know and I can help you get started. It's an email where there are about 2,000 members from all over the world, and you can reach out to them and tell them what you're up to and what help you might need, and someone might respond back to you and do some trade in kind. There's also a personal table email for things like I'm looking for an apartment or I have a car to sell and things like that. It can also be helpful. You can't actually go in the email and say, I'm looking for work per se, but you can say, these are my skills and abilities. If anybody needs any help, let me know. And that's very much the way things are done. I also happen to be in charge of all the volunteers and all the paid positions on Space Command. So if you're interested in a volunteer position, it might get you close to Mark or help out with the sets or anything else that we're doing right now. I can be asked about that. If you want a paid position, I have some of those too. I'm actually looking for carpenters and art department people right now, if anyone's interested in that. We don't pay very well, but we do have regular employment a lot of the time. So I can do that too. So let me see. So here's my story. The story is the cast and crew screening of Pulp Fiction. So I worked on Pulp Fiction, as I said, and it had only been screened one time up to that point, and that was at Cannes. On the Palme d'Or at Cannes. Palme d'Or is a gold medal. I don't know if you all know that. So I went to the cast and crew screening. Now, the only people that had seen the film were the sound people. Short of that, no one had even seen it with the music, and Pulp Fiction is all about the music. So we had seen it with the music and been there at the mix and everything. So we went to the screening. There's 800 people in the screening at Disney Studios. And Lawrence Bender, the producer, is this long, fine hair and a suit coat and a shirt with no tie and jeans and tennis shoes. And he's like very kind of soft-spoken kind of guy. And Quentin, as you all know, is the opposite. So he came down and he said, hello, everyone. I'm Lawrence Bender. I'm the producer. And everyone laughed. He said, I want to tell you guys that we really appreciate everyone working on the film. And Quentin now is striding full speed down the side of the theater. The Disney theater there, 800 people, is a very large theater. As fast as he can, he gets to the front and just trying to, wave his arm. He says, I want to tell you guys something. The studio said, we want to show this out to everyone. We give it to the press. I said, no, you're not going to do that. You're going to show it to the cast and the crew first, because this film is for you, because you made this film and this is yours. And he held up the box with a Palme d'Or in it over his head and he said, and this is yours. And everyone's like going crazy, and they put out the lights and ran Pulp Fiction for the first time.
How fun.
Wow.
And that was one of the most exciting single moments of Hollywood that I've personally experienced.
Wow.
So
Well, that's
there's
great.
my story.
Well, there you go. Yay! 3 cheers. Excellent. Great. Thank you, David. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yeah, we got another question from Mark Longo.
Hello, Mark.
Who asks, no need to name names, but have you turned down any actors who have approached you for Space Command?
Yes, I have. And it's sometimes it's just there's no role that's quite right for them, or sometimes they might have a reputation for being a little bit of trouble, because we really like to work with people who are there for the right reasons, which is to do the work. But it hasn't been a lot of people. It's been very, very few. Generally, if there's someone whose work I really admire, they tend to be very creative and collaborative and enthused. A few people I've approached who I've wanted to work with have passed, but again, that's very strongly the minority. But there are certain people that I'll wait a long time for, like George Takei. I'd wanted to work with him for a long time, and finally, of course, the ideal role was Sulu, and I got to, write and direct and produce that along with Elaine and Michael Reeves, and you can watch that on Mr. Sci-Fi in its entirety, and that was, a dream of a lifetime, and so yeah.
If there's anybody watching on Mr. Sci-Fi or here actually, who hasn't seen that Star Trek episode, you really should slice yourself an hour and watch it.
Thanks.
It's one of the best Star Trek episodes, and just plug in Shatner and Nimoy where you need to. But it's a really great story.
Well, it also launched Christina Moses' career, and Christina is now starring in a million little things on ABC. She's also in Space Command, interestingly enough,
and has starred in a million little things thanks to that. I mean, different roles throughout the years since that production.
Yes, and so she's quite spectacular. So again, my YouTube channel is Mr. Sci-Fi, and you can find that Sulu episode on the landing page. So, okie doke. Let's see. I'm looking at Carol. I guess you're next. Go for it, Carol.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thank you both for being here. I have a little list. Okay, what am I supposed to say? 36 commercials and 20 musicals out of New York. That was impressive. This commercial, Air California, I don't know if you can see here.
Great.
Oh, yeah.
I think I got it because my hair was like the dog, but I wanted to show it to you because the dog was supposed to be excited to see me on a conveyor belt at an airport. And how they got him to do that was they put baby food on my neck.
Wow.
And I had no idea they were going to, all of a sudden they said, come here, Carol. And she's scooping baby food on my neck.
That's great.
And it worked, but they should have told me ahead of time.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
If I was scared of dogs or allergic or something.
Yes.
But it was, right? So,
or had a traumatic incident with a baby.
Or that.
Yeah.
I have a question. Have you ever heard of a movie that came out in the 60s, I think, called The Bubble? It was a 3D.
Yes.
Oh, you heard of it?
Yes.
Because I saw it a few years ago. I loved it.
Huh.
It was like a 3D tacky movie, but it was great.
Yes. I'm a big fan of 3D movies. And, there's been a history of 3D photography since the origin of photography. And there's been some great 3D movies in the 50s and in more recent years, too. So, yeah, interestingly enough, I have a 3D television, so I can watch 3D movies. So it's really fun. Yeah, exactly. Elaine's pointing toward the screen.
I love that. So funny. I'm so glad you know it. I love that movie.
Sure.
Nina, I shot a, interestingly, Chrysler commercial in Chicago years ago, and Shirley Hamilton agency picked me up. I said I live in LA, but they picked me up, and they were sending me out a lot for a while. I got an Ajax dish liquid or something from them. Shirley Hamilton, write that down. I don't know if they'd remember my name. Feel free to use Carol Field. I don't know if they remember me, but she was like the #1 agent in Chicago. So, why not? Check it out. Let's see, where's my other little list? Oh yeah, can I ask you something? When someone comes in to read for you, what turns you off the most?
I'm always a little wary if they come in dressed, like if it's a role of a nun, if they come dressed as a nun, or if it's a role of a cowboy, they come dressed as a cowboy. I don't mind a little, I don't mind if it's sort of toward the role. So in other words, if someone comes in wearing jeans and a denim shirt or whatever, that's okay. Or if they're dressed a little more, business-like if they're auditioning for a nun. But somehow anyone who's ever come in dressed in the role has just been lousy as an actor, and so it kind of cues that Pavlovian response in me. Mainly, I want actors. I'm willing to let go of my preconceptions of what the character should look and sound like if the actor does a great job. They have to be able to take adjustment. If they can't take adjustment, we never hire them, ever. So, what would you say?
Yeah, the whole thing is to be planted and to feel real, where
Yes.
the actor, however they interpret it, feels connected to the character, and they're not indicating. They don't indicate. They really seem to be planted in the moment.
Yes.
And so the main thing is like believability.
Yes.
And that they seem to care about the character, and they're on the character's side. One thing that really turns me off personally as a director is if they cast a judgment on this character.
So they're outside the character, being judgmental rather than inside the character, looking out through the eyes of the character.
The character can be, really screwed up.
Right.
But you want it to be, gee, I wish I wasn't screwed up inside the character, rather than, outside saying, oh, this is a silly person, or this is a mean person. You want them to be within that character. So we want them to really honor the emotional journey of the character.
I like to hire actors who can act. But the fascinating thing is there are certain people. I mean, most professional actors have craft and they can deliver, but every now and then someone comes in and they're magical. It's like, and you can't tell before they start doing the scene, because they could either be very quiet and very shy, or they could be very personable. There's no telling. But there's some actors where they just turn on a switch and it's like a light bulb, 1,000-watt bulb is shining. It's amazing. And
that has a ripple effect.
Yes, with you, David, and
no, not with me.
Yes, who are you thinking of?
No, the first one on the show.
The first one in the show?
Her audition was so good, he used it in the show.
Yes. We had a worldwide talent search for one of the roles, and she was great. Yeah, but that was also true of Christina Moses. I mean, when we shot the Sulu episode with her, every single take you could have used. And they were all different. She always was making different choices. She was always interesting, just phenomenal. And that was really, really quite something. And then there are certain actors and actresses who just are stars, and there's just something about them that is beyond acting. It's just, they're mesmerizing. They're amazing. And that's something you can't really groom someone for. They just have that quality, and it's magic.
And then there's Ethan Phillips.
He's very, very good.
He came in and he read for a role to replace somebody else where he was just not the right age. He was just not the right.
He played Neelix on Star Trek Voyager.
But he read for a role where he was, not at all right for it the way I had originally written it.
Right.
But he was
made it his own.
Good.
Yeah.
He made it so much his own. I went home and I rewrote it for him.
Yeah, so that's cool.
Because he captured the emotional underpinnings with such clarity that I simply made adjustments, and I said, I'm going to rewrite this for you.
Yeah.
It's nice here.
Yeah. So, but I mean,
one more question. Yes,
please. No, go ahead, Carol, please.
Just one last question.
Yeah.
Have you heard Ben Arroyo Entertainment?
No.
Okay, I'm on my own there.
Yeah. Okay. You can put out an email to the table to see if anyone's heard of them.
Anybody up there ever hear of Ben Arroyo Entertainment? I mean, I think they're legit and stuff, but I just wondered. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's all for tonight.
Okay. Yay. 3 cheers. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes.
When you have a chance, I have a thing too, Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, David. What was it?
No, when you have a chance. There's a famous story about Greta Garbo.
Okay, sure.
Greta Garbo was one of the greatest movie stars of all time, and she had what they called the face, or that face. She was like so powerful that was it. And she would do a close-up, and like the rest of the movie, that's all you could think of. Mm-hmm. So there was a famous director who was about to work with her, and he was all excited. And he was ready to be on the set. He's going to roll camera to do a take, and she's just like, does the line. And he's like, okay. So he does a couple more with her, and he's not getting very much out of her, he thinks. Then he goes to see the dailies after they were processed in the lab, and it was all there on film on the camera.
Yeah, and that was that was true of Gary Cooper too. You would watch him on set, and these are all old movie stars for those who don't know. But Gary Cooper was very quiet, and on the set it would look like he was doing nothing. Spencer Tracy was like that too, and yet when you saw the dailies, when you saw the rushes, it was just like, wow, really amazing. And yeah, so that's there are certain actors that we've worked with too, where they've got such subtlety. And it's a quiet subtlety that the camera catches, but if you're even a few feet away from them, you won't see it. And so that's why I never really judge a performance until I see the footage, because you don't really know. But thank God for digital, because back when we started shooting 16 and 35, you didn't know for a couple of days if you'd gotten the shot. There was initially there wasn't even camera assist. It was just like you just hoped that you got it. And
for that matter, you couldn't always afford to do another take.
No.
You had to pay for the film. Just now it's shoot it again.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, but I believe David Goldnotes needs to leave soon.
Oh, sure. So we can take you,
David.
Sure, go for
next, and then we'll jump to
then Naomi. Yeah. Okay, great.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, nothing new is too exciting happening. I just wanted to say hi. Still doing sound, still doing voiceover. Got a new gig. It's going till the 1st of next month.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just some small production thing. It's a Halloween production.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Okay. So anything you need?
No, just wanted to say hi to all of you.
Okay.
Yeah, hi. And congratulations on even if it's small.
Yes. Yes. I mean, gainful employment is gainful employment. Anything that keeps us moving forward is a good thing. So, well, great. Well, it's good seeing you, David, as always. Anything else you want to add?
That I'll miss all of you till next time, and hope to see all of you guys again.
Great. Well, 3 cheers. Yay. So is there a Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. Our next question comes to us from Arkansas Big Dog Hensley, who says, I pray you all are doing well.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, how much of a challenge is it for people to do home movies and still stand a chance of making anything worth watching?
Well, there's a great chance of doing that. I mean, it's always about first entertaining yourself in the work you're doing, finding something that's meaningful to you. I think people can, now that we have such ubiquitous cameras everywhere, it's worth trying, taking a run at it. There's a guy who did a movie called The Brothers McMullen, where he only was able to shoot every weekend, and shooting every weekend at his house and friends' houses, he was able to make a movie, and that started his career. There's a great movie called Tangerine that's about, transgender prostitutes here in West Hollywood, and the guy shot it with iPhones, and it's a wonderful film. And
he just had real sympathy and curiosity in the characters.
Yes,
it was great.
yes. And so, so again, if you have an idea for something, take a crack at it, because remember, if you just do something and complete it, you're ahead of 99% of people who just talk and never get around to doing anything. So it's well worth doing stuff. And that alone is a success, regardless of the quality. And then you can start shaping it and improving the quality and so forth. But that's the first step. So yeah, absolutely. So now we get to you, Naomi. Go for it. Yay.
Hi, everybody. Naomi Pandolfi, actor, writer, producer, puppeteer.
Yay.
My puppet got lost in transit, you guys.
Oh no.
Dr. Marvin is nowhere to be found.
Oh no.
Yeah, but I can reorder. But yeah, anyway, not a lot going on. I did get an email from a gentleman I designed a pitch deck for, and his show got picked up, and they're filming their pilot now in Atlanta, I think he said.
Wow, that's great.
And so that felt really good. He was like, "Thank you so much," and I was like, "Oh, so glad I could help."
That's great.
Let's see. Oh, and a producer I'm working with told me that one of my projects has just gone in to be read by Mitzi Miller.
Yay.
So that's exciting. Hopefully get some good notes, or hey, she might really, really like it. Who knows? And yeah, I cut my locks out because I'm getting new headshots, and I cut off a brain. So how frowned upon it do you think it would be to wear a hat and headshots?
I think that'd be fine. I think that'd be fine. Sure. No, I mean, whatever, I think what they want to do is get a sense of who you are as a person. What your authentic self is. I mean,
so if it's cute or sexy,
if it's cute, yeah, that'll work fine. So yeah, that's fine. I mean, I sometimes in my Mr. Sci-Fi videos wear this hat that Elaine got me that was made out of tarps from trucks that were driving in the Amazon jungle. And Dave Edison refers to it as my hobo hat because he thinks I look like a homeless guy when I wear it. But does that stop me? No, of course not.
So some people like dumpster diving chic.
Yes. Well, it's a great hat, I'll tell you. But so absolutely. I'll show you the hat. Okay.
Yeah, I want to see it now.
It's a great hat. It's a great hat. It was made from tarps of trucks that drove cargo through the Amazon. This is the hat. It's very much like an Indiana Jones kind of hat. And you put it on.
Oh, wow.
And there it is. So it's it keeps my face shaded when I'm out in the bright sun, and it's just a terrific hat, so
get it close to the camera. Let's see this hat.
Yeah, it's made of it's
the most stylish homeless man around.
Yes, exactly. and it's incredibly durable. So
as are you.
It's true. It's true. I agree. But so yes, so is there anything you need, Naomi? Anything that we can do to be of help?
No, not right now. I'm just, plugging along.
Okay, well, that's great. That's the way to do it. And so 3 cheers. Yay. I'll show you something that came in the mail. Years ago, my friend Doug Hayes was he was a director on Twilight Zone, and I used to hang out with him at his house, and he had books from his childhood. And one that I really liked was he had a first edition of Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court, and I never got his copy, but I just found a copy. So this is I'll show you this. This is a first edition of the Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court by Mark Twain from 1889. So that's pretty fun. So there you go. Profusely illustrated. It's one of the one of the earlier time travel stories. So there you go. So
according to the signature inside, it was owned by some guy named Samuel Clemens.
Well, I'll tell you something interesting about that, Dave. When I wrote the Twilight Zone Companion in my early 20s, George T. Clemens was the great cinematographer of Twilight Zone. He was a genius and very responsible for the look of Twilight Zone. So when I interviewed him, he was an old guy, and I said, "Are you any relation to Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain?" And he said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "When I was a kid, I met him." And he said, and he gave me a signed, complete edition of his works. So that's cool. So. Nice. Yeah, in the right place at the right time. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, our next question is from Robert Estes.
Hi.
A lot of new commenters tonight.
Yes, great. Tell your friends.
Yeah, he says, I just watched the trailer for Foundations on Apple TV.
Yeah.
It looks awesome.
Yes.
What are some upcoming sci-fi movies or TV shows that you were excited about?
Well, Foundation, definitely. I hope it's good. Asimov, I've read Asimov a fair amount, but he's not one of my favorite writers. Like, for instance, Ray Bradbury or Heinlein or the Heinlein Juveniles or or Arthur C. Clarke. But I hope it's good. I hope it's really good. And they've been trying to make Foundation for like 50 years. But I'm also looking forward to Denis Villeneuve's Dune. We'll see if that comes out well. They've just released the 3rd season of Star Trek Discovery. I don't know. I'm pretty burnt out on that show at this point. But again, we'll see if third time's the charm. Those are some of the ones. I'm not. Oh yes, there's also this one with Gerard Butler where asteroids are going to hit the Earth and he's got to get his family to Greenland where people are being saved, and just the trailer's great. I don't know if the movie's going to be any good, but the trailer looks great. Right. Oh. So yeah, so that's so the answer to that. So let's see who's next. I think is It's you with the checked shirt. I can't see a name on my little thing here, but go for it. Yeah.
Robert Barham.
Robert. Hello, Robert.
Robert.
Oh, there we go. Now
hey, I have a question.
Yeah.
And that's it. I will be getting back to you. I have been a bit under the weather of late. And I'm going to get back to you about doing an interview. But my question is,
sure.
What would you say to someone who's older who wants to be involved in writing a screenplay or a play for stage or anything like that?
Sure. The question is,
would you say to anybody to don't attempt it, don't try it?
No,
stop because you're too old or anything like that?
No, because there's always plastic surgery. No, it's no, quite seriously. I would be hesitant to advise someone to try to get onto a writing staff on a TV show because they tend to hire younger people. That doesn't mean it's impossible, but it's just harder. But in terms of writing a screenplay or a stage play, absolutely go for it, because when they read a script, they don't know how old the writer is. They, unless you put your age under your name on the front page. So they don't know what you look like. They don't know if you're thin or fat or tall or short or anything. So, but the question with anything that you write, unless you're a novelist, but if you're writing a script, the question always becomes, how committed are you to getting this thing made? Because the reason I'm a writer, director, producer is because I'm incredibly committed to getting my work made. So, I'm primarily a writer, but the producer and the director jobs are to complete the work, because a script is only a blueprint toward a thing. A novel is the thing itself. You read the novel, and that's the artwork. A stage play or a screenplay, you've got to get those things made if the audience is going to see them. So again, it depends on how committed you are to that process, because unless you're committed to be the one who gets it made and gets it in front of an audience, you're dependent on the goodwill of others. That doesn't mean that won't happen. It just means that you are not the catalyst toward making your work get completed. And so that's an aspect of it. I would never tell anyone not to write a script or not to write a play or not to do. I mean, I would advise anyone to do anything, because it's. Elaine's taking the dogs out for a walk. That's why we're getting all the noise. They're angels. So anything can be done by anyone at any time. Basically, we're mostly limited by ourselves. And when I became friends with Ray Bradbury, it was in his 80s, and I knew him until he died in his early 90s. He was writing 2 books a year at that age, and that was astonishing. 2 new books a year
in his 90s. Yes,
in his 80s into his 90s, and he was an amazing man, and giving talks and doing signings, and so he was, because he loved it, and it kept him alive, it kept him going, and so I was. He was mentoring me in many things, but one of the things he was mentoring me in was how to be old and still be joyful in life and creative. And he was an astonishing man. But the real.
Will you be passing along those tips in your book about him?
Yeah. I've been writing a book about him called My Ray Bradbury, and various other projects have taken precedence, sadly. But
I remember reading Ray Bradbury's Zen and the Art of Writing. I thought that was a wonderful book.
Yes,
a wonderful how-to book.
Yes, he was an amazing man in every way. But basically, I would say yes. If you want to write something, write it, and have accountability partners that you check in with every day, so you can set a page count or a time frame that you're writing on a daily or a weekly basis, and get it done. The main thing is to finish what you start, because that's the only way you can really get anywhere. All these people who have ideas for something or notions or all, half-finished things, that's not going to do it. You have to finish what you start. And, but once you do, it's great. And even when you put on a stage play for a small audience, it's wonderful, because magic can happen, and you never know who's going to see your work. I mean, the way I became friends with Ray Bradbury was he came across something I'd written that he loved, and he called me and he said, "You must come to the house." Well, I couldn't have planned that. And, it just was serendipity, but my God, it was a blessing to have that happen. And, so So yes, I would tell you to write stuff. And again, there's always going to be a reason that we can talk ourselves out of doing something. We're too old, or we're, people, shit, is Hollywood sexist, ageist, racist? Yes. But that's never an excuse to not do something, because again, our job is to, get to the finish line. Our job is to get to our audience, and everything that stops us is just something that asks if we're willing to be stopped. And if we're not willing to be stopped, then we're not stopped, So there
Mark,
you have it. Yeah.
I'm looking online.
Oh,
it
good.
says that Raymond Chandler broke in as a screenwriter at the age of 56.
Yes.
So, and then there's a couple more here.
Yes.
This person, Julian Fellows, who wrote Gosford Park at 52.
Yes.
So people have broken in at older ages.
Yes.
So.
Yes. I remember, I'll tell you a funny story about Raymond Chandler. There was a friend, my friend Doug Hayes, who directed Twilight Zone. He knew a guy named Roy Huggins, who at the time was a very successful television producer. And in his youth, Roy Huggins had decided to write a mystery novel. So he got one of Raymond Chandler's books, and I think it was like The Lady in the Lake. And so he changed it from a lake to the backwoods. He changed, a blonde to a brunette. He basically copied everything in that book except the specifics of, right? But he totally nailed Raymond Chandler's writing style. So then he sent the manuscript in as a submission to Raymond Chandler's editor. And Raymond Chandler read it and wrote a letter to Raymond Chandler saying, "Why are you writing a book pseudonymously?" And Raymond Chandler said to him, "I'm not." And so he got the name and address of the writer, and he wrote to Roy Huggins, Raymond Chandler, and the letter began, "You must be very young." And the code of that story is the editor actually bought that novel and it was published. So pretty hilarious. So great. And did we answer the Mr. Sci-Fi question? I think we did, didn't we, Adam? Or did we? I don't even remember. Oh no, we're still on
Robert's question.
We're still on you, Robert.
Yeah,
so did you?
That was okay.
Yeah. So do you have anything else you wanted to add, or did that answer it for you?
No, I have a number of different ideas, and I've been working on them slowly but surely, and I like the ideas, and I'm doing my best to try to keep them original.
Yes, good.
Whatever that means, and I guess I just have a lot of questions. So
sure.
I remember I went out and I went to IKEA and I bought a one half Billy bookcase, and I filled the bookcase with. I did a lot of research, and I filled the bookcase with books on screenplay writing and prose writing and things like that to educate myself, because I wasn't able to put myself through school at the time.
That's fine.
I wasn't able to go to college or university then. And so I decided to try to learn on my own that way, through self-study.
Yes.
So,
what I would suggest you also do is read scripts and break them down. I mean, it's like basically the most important thing is just to do stuff. Originality is not the most important thing. The most important thing really is, are you entertaining yourself? If you're writing a page and it bores you, then it's going to bore everyone else. So that's how that's my litmus test. Am I interesting myself? And is it a movie I would want to see, or a TV show I would want to see? And then I just kind of imagine the screen, and I turn on the show and I watch the show, and I say, and then if something rings false or something seems flat, then I come back to it. But there's a lot of very mediocre writers who make a very, very good living. And, so I wouldn't worry, though. I would caution you about books on screenwriting, because most of those are taught by people who tried to be screenwriters, failed, and then became experts on the subject. And so you really want to look at and see if they've ever written a movie that was successful, because my teachers were, when I was growing up, when I was a kid, my three favorite shows were Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, and Star Trek, the original versions of those shows. And I started noticing that those were being written by a lot of the same people. And they were also the same people writing the books that I was reading at the time, the science fiction books and short stories. So as soon as I was old enough, I went to science fiction conventions and started meeting those people, and they started mentoring me. And that was invaluable. And so, I've since then, I've made it a habit to kind of track down people whose work I love and see how they do it. And that's been very helpful. And, and then you just get up out of bed every day and do your best, so that's how it works. Anything else?
No, right now.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
Well, good to see you. 3 cheers. Yay. Excellent. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. We've got another question from Carrie-Ann Wilcox Ryan.
Great.
Who asks, as I'm an Australian, are there any sci-fi shows being filmed here?
That's an interesting question. The last one I know of was Farscape, which my friend Rockney O'Bannon created. He and I are creating a new show now called Sweet Haven that we're going to be doing a table read of via Zoom very, very soon. I don't know of any right now. The time difference is a killer for anyone in LA. That's the problem. You know, if they're shooting in Vancouver, it's the same time zone. If they're shooting in Toronto, it's only 3 hours later. But my God, Australia is challenging. Even London or Europe is challenging because that's 8 hours. You know, but at the time, Henson, I guess, had a facility in Australia. They were looking to do it. It was really the first science fiction show that was shot there that was for American consumption. But there's nothing to say we can't shoot there again. You know, it's I think it's very funny that with Mad Max Fury Road, they were going to shoot in Australia, but there was this weather surge where everything was blooming and they couldn't get the desolate landscape they wanted, so they ended up shooting in Namibia. So pretty hilarious. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. So let's see who's left. Lydia?
Mark?
Yeah, yes, David.
My favorite part of that story about Namibia is they did a budget on where they would shoot somewhere else in the world to get that done, and they came up with a total, and they went into Warner Brothers' head, and I just picture the meeting. He said, okay, so what's it going to cost us to move everything? 150 vehicles, an entire city worth of stuff, people, trucks, on ships, everything else. And the producer looks at him and he says, 50 million.
Uh-huh.
And there's this pause, and the head of the studio says, okay. That's the whole meeting.
That's great. That's great. But that's how it works.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, that's how it works.
Can you make it work? How else could you say that meeting? It's like, can you do it cheaper? Really?
No.
Let's shave $1 million off, right?
No. I know. And that's how it works. So Lydia, I guess, oh, David, what were you going to say, Dave?
Yeah, I just want to mention, I just got a text here from a table member who's been out for a while. So he says, please pet my best to everyone at the table and tell them I will return when this adventure is over. He's just going through some stuff, some little bit of medical issues and trying to get back to us. Anyway, actor Jeffrey Markle. He's been a recurring character on Parks and Recreation. I cut a video for him called Can't Sing the Blues with his band by Joe Veal. You can find that on YouTube.
Cool.
Can't Sing the Blues. And he'll be back soon. He want to send you all his best.
Great. Thank you, Dave. Yay. So Lydia, you're up. Go for it. Oh, you want to unmute?
If we can get her.
There you go. Barely. Is there a way to turn the volume up? Yeeks. Uh-oh. Yeah, but it's very, very soft. But go for it. Try. Give it a try.
One question. In regards to going from screenplay, do you think
yeah, if the volume's too low, we can't hear you. Huh. Adam, do you have a...
Try going into your audio settings and select which microphone you're using, because it sounds like it's set to your computer's microphone.
Ah.
If you have an external mic, make sure you select that.
I know this is a challenge for all. Can you get it?
hear me now?
A little better.
Sounds about the same.
Yeah.
In your audio settings, there's another thing. Under microphone, there's a box. I don't know if you're on a Mac, but if you're on a PC, there should be a box that says automatically adjust microphone volume. Make sure that's unchecked. And then you can, there's a slider that can adjust your microphone volume.
I got this. Hear me now?
It's still very low. Wow. Sorry, Lydia. If you wanted, you could send us a question via chat, and we can answer the question if you'd like. We can try it that way. So, but yeah, and also you might want to reach out to Adam when we're not doing the table, right now, and maybe you guys can troubleshoot it or something, So
yeah.
I mean,
I'll send you my email.
Great, that'll be great. Thanks, Lydia. But feel free to send us a question, and Adam can read it, and we can answer it. So, in the meantime, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
There is. Let's go to Carlos Gomez, who asks, is there a character, I'm assuming he's talking about Space Command,
sure,
named after Andre Norton going to be featured at some point?
That was challenging because for those who don't know, Andre Norton was a very famous female science fiction writer working under a pseudonym throughout the 50s, 60s, and 70s. The problem is that if you name a character Norton, people are going to think of Ed Norton from the Honeymooners if they're of a certain age, and possibly they would think of Ed Norton, the actor, if they're of another age. And so that was the problem. And then Andre Norton, you'd have the French man. We should probably name Ryan Husk that since he speaks French. But
what about a real inside joke using her real name?
That's possible, but we can look into that. And someone was suggest.
You really need to spray.
Yeah, really, exactly. There, he's quiet now. Quieter. So okay, so great. So Brian Hassick, I see your name there. I don't know if you're listening or can take your turn, but we see your name.
Lydia's question came through.
Please, yes.
Talk about that first.
Sure.
She asks, is it better to write a book and then the screenplay?
It depends. I wouldn't ever I wouldn't ever suggest writing a screenplay. Writing a novel if you didn't want to write a novel, because it's such a lot of work that unless you're good at it, it's going to suck probably because it's so long and so arduous to write one. On the other hand, if it's something you've always wanted to do and you have a certain affinity for it, then sure. But there's two ways of putting a novel out into the world. One is via submitting it to established publishers. The other is by self-publishing on Amazon, which is no longer the vanity press thing that it once was. Like, for instance, with Magic Time, when Elaine and I wrote the 2-hour pilot for Magic Time, I was optioned many times but didn't get made. So I sold it as a trilogy of novels to HarperCollins and collaborated with several other writers on the novels, ultimately writing 70% of the first one and virtually all of the third one when my co-writer crapped out. And that was because I'd sort of always wanted to write a novel. And it's a lot of work. Novels are a lot of work. They're very, they kind of take you over, and they're long. I think the page count on the third Magic Time book in manuscript was 658 pages. And that's like a phone book. It's, and the Twilight Zone companion.
Speaking of Magic Time.
There it is. Yay.
I just got this from Amazon.
That's the second one.
Book 2.
Yeah, Maya Bonhoff. Yes. But the Twilight Zone companion was 1,000 pages in manuscript, and I typed that book. I mean, that was on a typewriter on a electric. So pretty crazy. So, but it's not, if you wanted to write a novel first, yes, that would be possible, because if the novel were successful, then that would greatly increase the chances of selling it as a movie. But my real advice to anyone who wants to write screenplays is learn how to direct and shoot the sucker, because that's going to guarantee that it gets made. Now that we all have cameras in our pockets, now that we all can learn editing on a Mac or a PC, I mean, way back when it used to cost millions of dollars to shoot anything pretty much. And then it was like, well, then someone would have this excuse not to make a movie. But now that we've all got cameras on our phones, and some of them are 4K cameras, there's really no excuse not to just grab some actors or even non-actors and take a run at something. It's, I mean, you can learn almost every skill you would need to have on YouTube, or Google. You just type in, how do I do such and such, and bang, there it is. So, so that's just, but again, but the fun part about novels, as I said earlier, is that they are the thing itself. Someone who reads your novel is reading exactly what you wrote. It's the only form of telepathy that I know is real. Okay. It's your mind to the reader's mind. And so it is, but of course, all of my friends who are novelists are very, very pale people who just stay in their room, which is similar to what we're all doing now with the pandemic. So it's not that different, but it is a different world. When I wrote the novels, I had to start going to the World Science Fiction Convention and meeting the novelists and getting to know how that world of publishing worked. And the rules are very, very different from Hollywood. And so I had to learn those rules. But many of my friends are novelists. I would never want to be a novelist full time. It is too solitary a life. I love working with actors and directors and editors and producers and the whole 9 yards. So it also depends on what kind of person you are and what kind of life you like.
Even editors?
Editors are wonderful. Editors are so wonderful. They're so compliant.
You hear that, Mr. Augustowitz?
Yes. I like both of you. I think you're both great guys, and
I got to find people with higher standards.
Because they know that the editors saved the film.
Yeah. Well, but again, I think we all need to be thankful that we're living in the time of digital editing, because my God, when you actually had to physically cut film, it made it so hard to make changes. And, my God, cutting negative, all that stuff. Crazy.
How did they make the classics?
Well, Citizen Kane is the one where you really go, holy cow, because that has so many tricks and so many things in it.
Robert White.
Guys, come on, it's not that hard to cut film.
Well, but
I've seen art if you don't experience it. It's not that hard. Is it easier on these digital systems?
Yeah.
Sure.
Did you ever try to tweak something with Mark and Elaine?
Well, that's actually
not on film. No, not on film.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Mark, do you prefer digital to film? Because the whole big thing with Spielberg was he took forever to cut digitally. I think the first movie he did was War Horse.
Yeah.
Because he liked cutting film, because then while the editor was cutting, he could walk around the studio and it gave him time to think about what he was doing. You don't get that time anymore.
I think that it's often what system you grew up with, Spielberg had worked a lot with physical film editing processes, whereas I came into TV just as you're starting to get Avid and those kind of systems in place. And I loved the fluidity that those allowed you, where you could say, okay, let's take this shot and try it with this shot. And let's cut this a little, 8 frames shorter or whatever, and because I really like to play with stuff and look at it and see what kind of has a greater nuance, but that's just me. I much prefer digital filmmaking. I prefer digital cameras to film, physical film. And I recognize that digital has no guarantee of how long it's going to last. It's very speculative, whereas we know safety film will last 100 years if you treat it right. So we're in unknown territory. But again, digital film.
We're always careful with these drives I have here.
Yeah.
David Bartlett has a copy and you have a copy, but
yeah,
I've got the project.
I know.
So I've got to make sure I keep sending it to you guys every so often.
No, absolutely. But
then if you needed to do something about it, if there was another, let's say, alien abduction, I don't want to talk about it. Then you guys have to put this back together. That project file isn't quite enough. You have to know a little bit about where the files are.
You do.
Yeah, we're due for a big update too, Dave. We should do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but okay, great. So
you brought it up.
Yeah. So I guess we were going to Brian Hassick. Are you there, Brian?
Brian doesn't have a mic right now.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
But he does. He says he plans to return to volunteer.
Great.
With Space Command first week in November.
Great.
Also might have some time if anyone else needs a PA next week, and he did put his email in the chat.
Great.
And he does have a Mr. Sci-Fi / general question.
Sure.
He says, I just rewatched Pitch Black.
Yes.
But the second installment was a mess. Anyone have any good things to say about Riddick, which is part 3, or should I skip it?
It's better than the second one. But it's not as good as the first. The first, my understanding is the first was actually done as a Sci-Fi Channel movie, and it turned out so well they decided to release it theatrically. And that was really the start of Vin Diesel's career in earnest, because it really put him on the map. And Pitch Black's a good movie. I just bought the 4K version. I'm going to take a look at that, But no, I like that film a lot. But they haven't known what to do with it since. I'll tell you. They just, it's funny how some franchises flow pretty easily and others have fits and starts and just difficult times, it's interesting how that works. So, but great, Brian. Terrific. Thanks. And so let's see. So I guess, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
I'm gonna skip ahead to Bob Rich has a very good question.
Sure.
Which we were just talking about novels and TV.
Yes.
He asks, when working in literature, TV, film, what are the keys to making superb entertainment for kids and young adults? How is the process different than when we're writing for adults?
It depends. You mustn't talk down to your audience. I mean, I just always look inside and say, what would delight me? And when I was writing animated cartoons like He-Man and Smurfs and all that, I knew what the parameters were. And so I just wrote what I would want to see. It wasn't that different. The pacing, the structure, it was all very similar. I think a lot of people make a mistake when they write for children, where they write as though they're talking down to kids. And that, of course, is a terrible mistake. I don't think, and again, the one difference is that you have to think of how old your audience is. And that's an aspect of it. But, there's such a thriving market now for young adult books, all sorts of stuff. I mean, and the voices, the styles of cartoons and all of these things are so broad and varied now. You can do a lot of different things. So it's just write what you want to see in existence. It's like, write your favorite thing. If there's something that doesn't exist and you really want to see it, create it. And but I wouldn't worry too much about the competition. I would just do the best job you can do with what you want to write about, So yeah. So yes, so now Adam, we haven't had your turn, have we? Have we had your turn? We haven't had your turn yet.
No, we have not.
Well, why don't we have your turn, Mr. Tuba Player?
Well, I'm for those who are new, I'm Adam Sartain. I'm a actor, voice actor, musician that plays the tuba, and I'm an associate producer on Space Command. Yay.
Yay.
So I've been keeping busy with stuff. I'm gearing up to be Santa Claus for virtual Santa visits through Jingle Ring. So if you have, if you know people with kids that want to meet Santa this year and just want to be careful with COVID, there are going to be, they can look up Jingle Ring and look up my Jingle ID, which is Jingle 181.
Wow.
And you'll be able to see my complete schedule and schedule a meeting with Santa Claus.
That's great.
So that's fun. And then also recently, I decided to submit a sitcom pilot to a screenwriting contest.
Wow.
For Stage 32 has a screenwriting contest, and I on a whim, I just decided, I'll submit it. I had there's a group that Mark, what's his name? Another table member has on Mondays where we read people's scripts. Naomi's in that group, and we read first 2 pages of my script. I got some good reviews, so I thought, I'll submit it, see what happens. I won't, that it's still early in the stages for it, so for the contest, so I won't find out anything about that until next year. But just throw it out there, see what happens.
Yeah, great. With 3 chairs.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one other thing is now available on where you can find most podcasts is a special Halloween podcast, like a one-time podcast called Undead Radio. If you guys want to search that out, I play the announcer.
Great.
Which basically I do radio ads in the midst of a zombie story.
Oh, fun.
So
that's fun.
It's very fun. And yeah, that's it for me.
Okay. 3 cheers. Yay. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, let's do. Let's go to another Scott. Scott Baker had another good question. There it is. Now that we have HD video of a probe landing on an asteroid, how long before billionaires start to stake claims, and how do you think Earth's government might respond?
It's a really interesting question, because if they find certain rare metals on these asteroids, it could totally devalue the market cost of those metals. They've talked about, diamonds and gold and all of these things.
Iridium-6.
What, Dave?
Iridium-6.
Yes, Iridium-6, which is a fake mineral I created. But the thing of it is that right now nobody owns space, but that's going to change. People are going to start staking claims. I mean, China just announced what Venus was its planet or something. I think they staked a claim on one of the planets. It's like, no. It should be like the North Pole or Antarctica, where everyone just has their own research stations and so forth. But James Cameron invested money in an asteroid mining operation. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's still extremely tricky, and but it's interesting. I mean, I'm in favor of all this different space stuff, except for space weaponry. That's the only thing I don't approve of. The war in space should never happen, and so forth. So okay, great. So now I guess we've gone around the room. So I guess it's Elaine now. Wonderful, Elaine. Go for it, Elaine. Go for it, Elaine. Go. Yay, Elaine.
Not a lot new to report. Firstly, I would like to credit editors, because especially with things like our COVID show, which people did a very good job of just putting a camera on themselves, but still in all, things that needed to edit together would not normally be able to be edited together, except for Mr. Dave, who did edit together impossible cuts. So good for Mr. Dave. Especially with our chaotic puppies, who were just.
I didn't even tell you the half of it.
Oh, really? that was mad. He was like cutting together. I said, my God, how did he give me the impression that was one piece when it was clearly all over the place? So he just devised a lot of tricks to get the things that should not have. So good for him. Right now, I'm having the happy time. Well, it's the little piece that we shot for Space Command. I'm having the time of doing the first. I always do a paper edit first for my selects, and then I hand that off to Dave to actually put together and to see which of my things that I want put together actually can go together. So I'm in the middle of doing that, and it's really a pleasure to work with. We work with some very good actors, and there was a lot of fun on the set, so that's fun to see it all come together. And outside of that, just working very hard on Space Command, yay! And working through the pandemic. So, and for those of you who are thinking about putting something up online, and haven't yet been motivated enough to do so, remember, you ain't got nothing until you got the evidence. So,
yes, it's true.
So. Go to.
Yay! A few cheers, Elaine. So, a final Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yeah, let's do a new one that hasn't asked a question yet. AJ Allred, who asks, I bet you have some cool stories around the old radio show X-1.
Yes.
Anything you'd be willing to share?
Yes. Well, I mean, it's funny because there's certain things in the 50s that were really a cut above in terms of science fiction. Science fiction movies tended to be extremely variable in terms of quality, but EC Comics, of course, did weird science and weird science fantasy and weird fantasy, and was spectacular. There was one exceptional adaptations of Ray Bradbury, and there were 2 radio shows. The first was Dimension X, and the second was X-1. They were both superlative. They took the short stories that were being published in Galaxy Magazine and Astounding Magazine and did really wonderful adaptations of them for radio, stories by everybody, all the major guys, Robert Sheckley and Bradbury, and on and on and on. And you can find these radio plays, particularly X-1, I highly recommend. You can either find it on YouTube, or you can also find it on eBay. You can buy like a jump drive with all the episodes, but they're wonderfully acted, wonderfully written. They have stories by Philip K. Dick. They've got stories by Heinlein, just wonderful adaptations, very evocative. They really hold up. So Ernest Kanoy, who was one of the, he would adapt the short stories. He was one of the major adapters who worked on X-1. He later became a big writer of miniseries in television in the 60s and 70s. And I think he may have even won an Emmy or two along the way. But they were really terrific. Ray Bradbury was a big fan of the radio adaptations. He loved old radio. In fact, when there was a strike, newspaper strike, he read the funnies on the air on radio when he was a kid. And people, because of Fahrenheit 451, people think he was anti-television. This is not true at all. He loved movies, he loved television, he loved radio, he loved every form of communication, and his stories were adapted brilliantly in all of these media. So, but I love X-1. I've been listening to those radio shows ever since I was a teenager, and I just love them, and I listen to them fairly often. So I highly recommend them. I'm a big fan of old radio. Just radio drama in general is terrific. So sadly, it died out by and large here in the States. It's now starting to see a resurgence thanks to podcasts that are doing audio dramatization. For some years, graphic novels and comic books were source materials for TV shows and movies. Now it's shifting over to audio drama podcasts because they're less expensive. Hang on one second, guys. There we go. There. And, so they're sort of like incubators for new TV shows, and you'll see some of these things being adapted. But, so that's my answer. But I highly recommend that, and I recommend Journey into Space, which is a great British radio show about missions to the moon and Mars, and I love it. It's been it's one of my favorite things ever. So okay, great. So now I guess it's me, wonderful me. So last but not least, yes. And so as Elaine said, there's a lot happening. We're currently finishing up the second hour of Space Command in post. We've assigned almost all of the visual effects shots to I think 5 VFX artists in Chile and Germany and here. And so in the next couple of months, we should get six VFX artists. Yes. And so in the next 2 or 3 months, we should get all of that footage in, and then we just have to color correct and sound design and do the music, and we'll be able to ship these things out. And meantime, we've started shooting the rest of Space Command Forgiveness, our second story. Building sets, alien spaceships, creatures, futuristic hospital room. It's really fun. And also, David, I sent you an eBay listing for a console from Star Trek they're selling. I don't know if you saw that, but you might want to check that out to see if we should get it. Because it might be a good purchase for us.
Where are we gonna put it?
Well, looks like you've got room in your place from what I'm seeing on the screen here.
Oh, sure, right here in my office.
Yes.
What part of Star Trek? The bridge, the transporter?
No,
room?
it's from an alien spaceship. It's from Star Trek Voyager, and it's an alien spaceship console. It's pretty cool and not expensive.
You sent me an email. I don't see the email.
I sent it. Yeah, I sent it. It was with like a heading like "How about this?" about a day or two ago. So
that explains it.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Kidding.
Yeah, but so anyway, so we're building all that stuff. I'm continuing with the Showrunners Network, where I'm creating shows with the creators of Farscape and The Expanse and many other shows. And I'm also in conversation with the Serling family about a new Rod Serling show I want to do. And this is a project where we basically create 6 series and shoot all 6 pilots. There'll be 2-hour pilots and possibly even a full season of one of the shows. And then we take it out as a slate of shows to the buyers. And we're currently talking to some investors about raising about $40 million and to shoot all this stuff. And I've been pursuing I need to get certain very specific numbers about cost versus profits of existing TV shows, and very difficult material to get. J.J. Abrams was emailing me back, and a number of my similar friends at Netflix and so forth. And finally, it looks like we found the right person who's going to be very possibly the person we need to give us that information. I had a great conversation with him today. So we shall see what we shall see. And meantime, and I'm writing the new book, Greenlighting Yourself, which is coming along, and that will tell everyone how to do all the stuff I do. So it should be very, very fun, and moving along through that. And what else? We're going to be doing a book of the art of Mark Zicree, back when I was a visual artist, when I was a kid and in my early 20s. And I just got in the mail this today, which I will be wearing tomorrow, and I'll show it to you. It is the Obi-Wan Kenobi T-shirt that has my drawing of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I drew that when I was in my early 20s, when the movie first came out. So that's
How'd the signature come out?
It came out great, Dave. It looks great. So yeah, very fun. Very, very fun. So it'll be fun. I think that's the only shirt that has my artwork on it. So very fun. And so that's sort of the main stuff. Just kind of, I'm going to be reaching out to more of my friends to see who wants to come aboard the Showrunners Network as we continue locking down projects. And it's great fun. It's great fun. And so life is a bowl of cherries. I'm doing the Mr. Sci-Fi stuff. I also started a new channel called Mr. Politics, where I talk about politics, and because I've tried to keep Mr. Sci-Fi apolitical, because I want to have everyone feel comfortable there and welcome there, just like with the table, where we don't talk politics, because again, Elaine and I are liberals, but we certainly have friends who are not. And I think if people just come with a good heart and compassion and kindness and empathy, I think we're all okay, So there you go. And we'll see what the next couple of weeks bring. It's going to be a very interesting time with the elections and all of these things. And, and Neil deGrasse Tyson says there's an asteroid that might hit the Earth on election day. So it's a long shot, but given the way this year has been, I'm not going to place any bets on that one. And, but meantime, life is really good. I've got wonderful Elaine. I've got the dogs. I've got all of you and the Mr. Sci-Fi fans. And it's great. So, but every day is filled with excitement and interesting things. And you never know what's going to happen on a given day. So thanks for being there. Does anyone else have anything they need? Or have we covered everything? I think we're here every Thursday, 5:30. Have a good week, stay safe, and we'll see you next time, guys. Okay, bye. Take care, everyone. Bye. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Be well. Stay safe.
Thanks. Take care, guys. Thanks, guys. Good seeing you all.